Welcome! Woo! Usually I'm in my closet, but no, even I'm sitting on the floor in my bedroom. So if you are new, welcome to my channel. My name is Mallory. If you'd like to become one of my pals, hit that subscribe button down below, ring the bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Welcome, and if you are a returning pal, welcome back. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, 1 or 2, however many feels necessary, although you can only technically give 1. But tell your friends. Anyways, so I've been on this health journey to figure out what the hell is wrong with me from 2013. Here we are in 2022. And to do a little quick recap, in 2013, I was passed around like a hot potato. In 2021, I was tossed around like a hot potato. It's 2022, and I said, no more tossing me around like a hot potato. And thanks to YouTube, I found a website, menopause.org. Go to that website, click find a provider, put in your zip code, and it'll tell you which doctor has some knowledge on menopause. And when I first looked, there's only one, and that is my current primary care physician. She is a family doctor, and the way I best describe her is she majored in family medicine but minored in menopause. So she's extremely knowledgeable with the female hormones and the whole female business. So it's kind of bypassing a gynecologist, because until I can get a new one, it's nice to talk to a doctor who understands everything and isn't just constantly saying, well, you need to see the gynecologist for that, when then the gynecologist doesn't want to be bothered. And where does that leave me? So I mentioned in my last video, my mom thought I might have a thyroid thing. Now she doesn't. Now my mom is fully on board that there's a high probability that I have POF or POI, premature ovarian insufficiency or failure. And so depending on, I don't know, like it was always failure, but then recently they kind of changed it to insufficiency. So I don't know. I don't want to be that person that says like, oh, it has to be this way. Because listen, the way I identify myself as someone with Asperger's syndrome, so I'm an Aspie, like I have Asperger's. A lot of people like to tell me, no, you do not. It's not in the DSM-5 anymore. And then I'm like, you want to know what I wish I could tell them is to kiss my Asperger's. But I'm polite, and I'm just like, I'm well aware of what you're telling me, but I'm telling you my life story and my journey. And part of that was when I was 17 years old, a psychiatrist diagnosed me with Asperger's syndrome. And when it was removed, that term, when it was removed from the DSM-5, I had a conversation about it with my psychiatrist, who still uses that term, thinks it was a very bad idea to have it removed and that it'll do more harm than good to true Aspies. Because in my personal opinion, comparing autism and Asperger's is not apples to apples, it's apples to oranges. And I could go on for days about that, but that's not why we're here. But I'm just saying, whether you want to call something one way or another, I'm not here to tell you what's wrong or what's right. That's between yourself and your doctor. So, either way, now my mom is fully on board with the possibility that I could be having insufficient and or failing ovaries. And that it's been that way since 2013. And I say that like that because I'm like, ugh. Here's the thing. I've suffered since 2013 with a bunch of CIP. I blame a lot of it on this patch. Now, I didn't know then, but I know now that this could be a giant culprit. So when I took myself off it, it'll be interesting to see what my body does. And 13 days, about, give or take, being off the patch those hot flashes, I had them on the patch. They're way worse off the patch than night sweats. They're worse. Things are worse, my friends. When I was young, 22, 23 in 2011, I was diagnosed with vestibular migraines. My neurologist, my mom asked, my neurologist was this normal and blah, 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 and he said he only saw it in menopausal women. Then I worked it, so I only got four periods a year, and I like to use periods in quotes. Before I wouldn't have, but now I do. Anyways, I would get dizzy. And I'm like, well, what the hell is this? Some people thought it could be like anemia. Take some extra iron. Support yourself because you are like losing blood. The whole thing's messy and gross, and I don't care for it. Anyways, moving along. So, since being off this thing, I have noticed I am a little bit like funny in the head, like fuzzy, a little brain fog. At times I do feel a little dizzy, but I have my own terminology, and that is functional dizziness. And that is where you're a little dizzy, you're aware of it, especially when you really pay good close attention to it, but yet you can move about the cabin, so to speak, on your own. You might need to be careful and not move your head around too much, make quick sudden turns. You might need to be careful when getting in and out of bed or on or off the couch. You might need to square your turns like you're in the army. There's certain maneuvers you might need to do to prevent yourself from feeling worse. Sometimes I could still feel a little, but like I can go to the grocery store, but like I might prefer to hold on to the shopping cart for stability. I go to the gym, but I don't want to do anything that involves spinning or twisting in any weird way. So I might just give my trainer a heads up and say, listen, some stuff I can do, no problem. Some stuff I can't, or here's a heads up and an FYI. My balance is a little like extra wonky today. So is we've done a lot of like balancing type exercises to improve my balance, and he does know that I do struggle a little bit. So if I am doing something that does require balance, like sometimes lunges are hard. Like I do a lot of things with the TRX bands, like my squats, lunges, and like the row with the TRX bands, and they give me a little bit of support and security, and that should I kind of get wobbly or like about to fall, like I can catch myself. But when he has me holding hand weights that are like 10 to 15 pounds and has me like doing lunges in all different sorts of directions, and that does require some form of balance, that can be tricky. I really have to tighten my core, find a focus, a point of focus, and just be like, I'm only staring here and nowhere else, and work really hard. Like everything has to line up. The mind and the body need to be working and in sync. And he'll see that I'm a little like, whoo. And that's why I'm appreciative that he's there. And that's partly why I have a personal trainer. Because A, I don't want to hurt myself. B, should I be a little like, I'm going to fall over? He could possibly prevent that from happening. Although one time I did fall and it caught us both by surprise. It's like after we both processed what happened, because I know I had to take a second to make sure, like, am I okay? Because I just went splat on the floor at the gym. Don't recommend it. But yeah, I was fine. And he was like, are you okay? And I'm like, yes. And then I think he was able to piecemeal what had happened. So there's certain things I just need to be careful and look out for and know my body and know to say, yes, I can do this, and no, I can't. So sometimes I just have to stay home, and other times I'm like, you know what, I'm good. We just got to take it a little easy today, but I can do it. But sometimes, yeah, I can get a little like, whoo, and I need to sit down and like catch my breath. So at the time when I was diagnosed with my vestibular migraines. I was in different two different Facebook groups. One solely for vestibular migraines, one for vestibular disorders. And so many people are like, oh, I'm going through menopause right now and everything's getting worse. And I'm like, oh, great, my future. This is what I have to look forward to. But little did I know that I was probably dealing with it all along. And so I watch a lot of different stuff. I like to learn about things and educate myself. I have a thirst for knowledge. I like to learn about stuff that I'm afraid of because, knowledge is power. And I feel like when you know how something works or why something is the way that it is, you'll be less afraid of it in the long run. At least that's my hope for me personally. So I had lab work done. And that lab work, when I did it, I was not wearing the patch because I was told to not wear the patch to get a more accurate reading. And I'm using air quotes because I barely had the patch off of me when literally I took the patch off at midnight on the first of the month. And then on the second of the month, I was getting blood work drawn. So for all the side effects, health risks of the patch, that's partially why I didn't put it back on. A big part, actually. And then this other part for not putting the patch back on is should my doctor come back to me. Hasn't yet. But should she come back to me and be like, yeah, this isn't an accurate reading, or we need to do this again, and we would really prefer you to be completely off the patch and not have any synthetic hormones in your system, then I could be like, no worries in regards to me and the patch because I've been patchless for a while now. But yes, I have to deal with needles and blood work. That's a whole separate issue. But if it's oh yeah, no big deal. Now I haven't been wearing that thing. I think it's killing me slowly. No, that was me being very dramatic. But I swear, I'm dying to know, will I lose weight? Will I stop losing my hair? I just feel better. I'm not quite there yet. But an interesting thing is I'm not as bloated as I used to be. When I was wearing the patch, I used to get so bloated, I could do a maternity photo shoot. I no longer have that big descended stomach and that huge bloatation. My mom started to say to me, you're getting a middle. I'm like, a middle? And she's like, a middle? I'm like, no, if anything, I'm jolly like Santa. That's the goal. That's the goal. The goal is to be jolly. So, it's a positive spin on things. Anyways, so, and I'm waiting to see when we get into the first of the next month, do I have a period? Yes or no? Because one of the things, we ruled out PCOS. I do not have polycystic ovarian syndrome, and I'm kind of glad that I don't. But that was still had me baffled. I'm if I don't have PCOS, and what's with this constant weight gain? Why do I gain weight every time I take a breath? I don't know. So if the patch is part of the problem, then by not wearing it, that should be part of the solution. That is my thought logic. I don't know the validity of it, but hey. So, was I getting a period once a month? Yes and no. My periods have always been irregular. Nothing's been normal about them. And I would say this is true. They were regular, that they were once a month, and they were at the beginning of every month for the last 4 months. And I can honestly tell you, I had some kind of a cycle. It was very bizarre, very up and down. I don't know if you want me to go into the details, so I'm not going to, but if you have a specific question, You can always leave a comment down below or private message me on like Instagram or Twitter, whatever you have. Snapchat even. Like, do people really use that anymore? I do use Snapchat only for like the fun like filters and things. And then like I will save whatever I take to my camera roll, and I might share it on my Insta story, to Facebook, or just simply send a funny, silly photo to my mom and crack her up. So all that to say, it'd be interesting to see, because in all of my research, I've heard two terms: hormonal bleeding and chemical bleeding. But I also heard, see, when the gynecologist that I don't care for, she actually said, because my mom kept like pressing her for questions to get answers, because she didn't, oh my gosh, this gynecologist, we were asking her questions, and her response was, we could debate this all day, blah, 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 blah. And my mom and I were getting very frustrated. And my mom and I were like, wait, if she is in menopause, let's just say I'm in menopause, but we can't till I'm in my 40s or 50s. But if I do a POF or POI, basically that is a term, which is, I want to say, someone who's in like really early menopause. Like if you're in menopause, and I'm going to use the air quotes here, and you're under the age of 40, you could have premature ovarian failure, insufficiency. So I'm using quotes because I recently joined a group on Facebook for people with POF and POI. And there's young people in there. Some don't menstruate at all, the young people. And some of the young people, like in like their 20s, some might be in their 30s, still menstruate. But it's like very like sporadic. And then there's people of all ages that do not get a period. And kind of my goal and everything was to not get a period at all. And I would ask people, like doctors, I'm like, how do we make the suffering stop? And in order for that to happen, it would involve an implant and a procedure in the office. And given my anxiety and everything, this gynecologist that I want to get rid of and replace with a different one, she figures the only way I could handle getting like an IUD, an intrauterine device, implanted into my cervix is to put me under full general anesthesia in an outpatient surgical center. And she figures while she's there, she's going to get a flashlight and poke around my she shed, whatever you want to call it. She wants to get up in my business. To which I said, I just had an ultrasound months ago, 1 or 2 months ago, I don't remember. It could have been at the very end of last year. I think it was. If not, it was sometime in January. Anyways, that showed that my ovaries are not cystic. They're normal looking, decent size, nothing funky about them. My uterine lining is good and healthy. Everything looked beautiful on the ultrasound. So why do we need to go like get our mining hat and like go mining in a cave? Why? Why? Because it's going to cost a lot of money? Is that what it's about? So I was like, this woman gives me panic attacks and makes me want to scream and like go cuckoo, and I'm not here for that. So I really can't wait to switch. So I'm crossing my fingers this year we can get a new gynecologist, because should I need one, I'd like to have one, but not one that scares me and doesn't really care about me, and the list goes on and on and on and on. So I am still waiting to hear from my primary care physician on when I don't know when the labs are going to be ready. I know that like when they test your hormones, that takes longer than if you were just doing like a regular like blood panel. So, but I feel like it's been long enough, and I do need a refill. So I do have to like message her every time I need a refill, because that's a controlled substance. And I don't know if the laws have changed or she just has a unique way of working it, where she doesn't give me any refills. I'm used to like getting at least 3 refills from other people, but her, either that's just not how she rolls, and I respect it, or the laws have changed, and what can you do about it? So I think tomorrow I'll message her, because I think by then it should be about time anywho. So with all that said, I'm hoping she'll say something to me about my blood work, because I don't have a clue. I want to know where my levels are at. I want to know what she's thinking. I want to get everything balanced, and I want to work with the compound pharmacist. There's a lot I want to do. And I am just nervous because the day that I had my blood work, it wasn't the best, most successful job. Like last year, oh my God, that thing was like a piece of cake. And I say that, and I'm like, it really, like, mentally and emotionally, like my anxiety, my medical PTSD, like, did not enjoy any of it. But the nurse that I had put so much thought and effort into my needs, and she made it work, and she did a beautiful job, and she could have sucked me dry. But I'm glad, I still have blood in me, that we didn't just, let's keep going and going. No. And this time around, my new nurse was trying to be helpful and thought if we use a little baby needle, the little butterfly needle, it won't hurt so much and it'll be easier on me, my nervous system. But when it comes to extrapolating, it goes so slow, like hardly anything like wants to come out. So I'm like, if we have to do this again, those little tiny little butterfly baby needles, chuck it out the window, woman. It backfired. So I'm hoping they had enough to work with, because we were going to do all the female hormone stuff, and then some, all the thyroid stuff, and then some vitamin D, B, some other random things that were not really deeply looked at by my prior doctor. So my current doctor wants to do that. And I am well prepared for someone to give me a diagnosis of premature ovarian insufficiency, failure, whatever you want to call it. And I'm well prepared to have a big old mental breakdown, because there will be a lot of relief of finally, right? And now we can like fix it. We can manage it for sure. Lessen the severity of my symptoms. I might finally be able to lose some weight. But again, like once you're in menopause, you do gain weight. It's just part of menopause, according to my mother. She's the only thing I have to go off of. Even though I notice as my cat Squeaky, as she's gotten older, her stomach's gotten more saggier. She's like this close to dusting the floor with her stomach as she walks. So, this is where we're at currently, and this is all I can tell you, is if they say what I thought I had in 2013, it might have even started, honestly, in 2011 with the vestibular migraines. But for sure, 2013, for sure. Because if you want to talk about like premenopause and menopause and perimenopause, I would say maybe the vestibular migraines was like we're warning you, something's coming, and then we could say for X amount of years, and then who knows where I'm at now, right? I don't really know about the whole premenopausal, menopause, and post. Like, isn't it just all one long, drawn out suffering? I don't even know what to call it. But since being off the patch, like I've said, hot flashes are more consistent and more funky. The night sweats. Like, I fixed my ceiling fan. I couldn't take it one night. I had to like pull, by fixing it, meaning when I turned the switch on the wall, the fan never went on. I just had to pull the little string. And I did. And that sucker's, spinning on high every night. And I'm just like, oh my God, where would I be without that ceiling fan? Never thought my mom, thrives on a ceiling fan. I never thought it'd be like that, but here I am. And I feel like I have a little bit of brain fog. I am not sleeping. And I know for some people, it's like, that's old news, Mallory. We know you don't sleep. No, I go to bed between 3 and 7 in the morning. There was one week, there was one day, a couple weeks ago, I went to bed at 7 a.m. I'm going to bed between like 3 and 5. I'm like I'm just awake. And time is like going by so fast. I like blink and I'm like, what? Like, it's currently 7:30. How the hell did that happen? It feels like it should be like maybe 6 o'clock, 5. It feels like it should be a lot earlier than it is. And I struggled to get out of bed in the morning, even more so than usual. I actually took a nap today. And then what happens is I have dinner and then I have like a bit of a food coma and I try to fight it. Sometimes I end up taking a little nap, hence food coma. Sometimes I'm able to fight through that tired feeling. And then as like the evening progresses, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I'm like, yeah, woo! But all day long, I'm just a walking zombie. And I'm just like, But when it gets late at night and I get very like tired mentally, and I'm like trying to talk to my friend, I'm like, did I say that correctly? Was that even English? What are words? What is going on with my brain? My memory, it's a bit fuzzy. Like, it's never been like this before, except for when I was under deep stress when we were moving. Other than that, I've never been concerned about my brain and my memory. So, I just wanted to document all my thoughts and feelings and to share my story. And if you've enjoyed, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe and ring the bell so you can find out what the results are and what the aftermath of all this madness is going to be. And comments, questions, suggestions down below. And until next time, keep it quirky.